This is Top of Mind, the Dr. Patrick Slowinski Show.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Top of Mind, and today we're honored to welcome Mr. Akash Patel, a truly inspiring global educator and changemaker. Akash is the chairman of the United Nations Association of the United States at the UN Foundation, and the founder of my favorite nonprofit in the world, Happy World Foundation. This is an international nonprofit that champions global citizenship and education in schools and communities across the world. Akash also leads major initiatives like the Global Engagement Summit at the UN General Assembly Hall and supports teachers nationwide. Akash has been named Times Innovative Educator of the Year and even became the first polyglot immigrant president of the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages. I can continue this list for many more hours, but I really want to emphasize this gentleman speaks 6 languages, has traveled to over 50 countries, and all he does is aimed at inspiring a generation of students by building those cultural bridges through technology, education, and citizen diplomacy. Finally, I want to add a personal note here because this moment means a lot to me. When I first arrived in the US and started pursuing my American dream, Akash was one of the first people to believe in me. And he gave me a place to stay, taught me how things work around here, and helped me find my footing generally. I was so proud to volunteer for your nonprofit foundation, Akash, and also even honored thanks to you with the President's Volunteer Service Award for helping pursue your mission, which is cross-cultural understanding and youth diplomacy, a mission that aligns beautifully with your lifelong work. And the final thing that I would like to say is I believe Dr. Slowinski and you, Akash, may find really deep common ground because while Dr. Slowinski has helped and shaped US foreign relations through years of public service, Akash has done it in his own unique way by empowering next generation to be global citizens through informal diplomacy and education. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Akash, for a brief comment, and then let's hand it over to Dr. Slowinski to lead us into today's amazing conversation.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Victor. Thank you, Dr. Slowinski, for having me on today. This is such a special moment, especially because I'm seeing somebody I hosted in my house, Victor, several years ago, now so proudly serving the United States and away from oppression, away from, all the craziness back in his home country and enjoying the many great freedoms we so richly enjoy in the United States. So, Victor, I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful for your service to our country. And I'm just incredibly amazed at all the great things you've been able to accomplish in less than a decade. So you too are quite a living example of the American dream. And I wish more American people looked at folks like you and see what they went through. Like individuals like you, reporters, I've heard stories of where, they raided your parents' apartments because of your views, because of your reporting against oppression in Russia. I wish more Americans every day saw and realized how grateful they are to be Americans, how grateful they are to live in a country where they don't have to experience some of the same issues that you experience in Russia or where my wife's country, home country of Cuba. So I'm just so grateful today, and I want to start with a note of gratitude that all 3 of us find ourselves in the greatest country on earth.
Amen. Amen. Akash, welcome to the show. Welcome to Top of Mind. And I had the opportunity to look at something not too long ago. This happened to you in May. You were always kind of out there. You're not a wilting flower. You're definitely extroverted. You're not afraid to talk to people. But producer Victor, let's roll that clip of our friend here sharing his turning point moment, Akash's turning point moment with the legendary Charlie Kirk.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Charlie. My name's Akash Patel, and I drove an hour and a
Akash
half.
Patel?
Yes.
You're the
Akash,
FBI director.
With an A.
Oh, okay.
It's AKASH.
I was gonna say,
and
the FBI director's here.
I'm an educator. I'm a college instructor. I don't know if you get very many of those to come up here.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay. Well, I drove an hour and a half from Norman, and I want to just talk about, okay. I didn't go to school in Norman. Okay. Well, So I just want to talk about my turning point and ask you a question because I used to be on the center left and I'm on the center right. And I'll tell you why. It was a few years ago I was elected as the president of the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages. I'm a Spanish instructor. And these organizations have become so woke that the first thing that I was tasked with was the majority woke board of 14 members were deciding if they need to cancel the contract of a small Mormon business that sells textbooks. This is the party that is against book banning and wanted to cancel the contract of a small business person who is a Mormon because the Mormon founder made a donation against gay marriage 15 years ago. Because this guy right here stood up against it, I faced retaliation. They stripped me of my duties as the president. But despite all of those odds, I was able to demand for the resignation of the executive director who makes over $400,000 a year pushing ideological indoctrination on the left and restore the contract of that small Mormon business. Now, this is not an isolated incident, Charlie. This is happening in nonprofits all across the country. And I'm so pleased President Trump is doing something about college campuses, stripping them of their funding so that they can become more safe spaces for people of all perspectives, all walks of life. What can you do to leverage your influence that you have with the Trump administration to make sure nonprofit organizations like this one that I ran has a budget of over $25 million, gets hundreds of thousands of dollars in government funding, get stripped of their government funding for pushing this kind of ideological extremism?
Give us the name. I'll give it to Elon and Doge.
I've got a letter
All
for
right.
you.
I love it. Thank you.
And you're definitely not afraid of things, Akash, as a teacher, Spanish teacher, and a math teacher as well, I believe, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You're double subject. So what happened for you after you met Charlie Kirk? And you might want to explain the Norman, the Oklahoma context here for us.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why they booed because I was at Oklahoma State University,
Right.
and I live in Norman, which is where the University of Oklahoma. So they're football
And they
rivals.
despise each other.
Yeah,
They
but
really
they
do.
loved me right after I shared my story, and such a beautiful moment that this administration actually cares. And I just want to touch base on a couple things. I've spent my life dedicated to teaching children that we as humans are a lot more alike than we are different, which is a game changer in conflict resolution and peace building. Not the DEI crap that shows that, Patrick is superior than Akash because of the color of his skin. I spent my life teaching young children that we are a lot more alike than we are different, which is what our world needs today. Not this woke nonsense that's
Well, the woke
dividing
nonsense.
and splitting our country up.
The other way, Akash, sorry for jumping in there, but because I don't have your brown skin, that was a problem too. So when you go down these roads, you can never make anybody happy unless we judge people the way God wanted us to on their
Amen.
words, what they do, and how they treat other people, how they act, and not what they look like. You can't control how you came out of the womb, either can I, but we can take that life that God gave us and do something good. You're clearly doing great things out there. So I want to talk to you a little bit about after that episode was aired and you started getting did you get a lot of love? Did you get a little bit of hate?
Yeah.
What was the reaction?
I was just
You got a
shocked.
lot of hate.
Patrick,
So
first of all, Charlie didn't post that video until a month after I was in
it was June.
Stillwater, Oklahoma. So I'm sure they may have done some vetting. They reached out to me to see if this guy's actually speaking the truth on a show. And of course, I'm not afraid to, speak my mind. And I've done that in executive rooms, especially during a time when all these organizations, national nonprofits, government agencies were all going far left, and woke. And then, especially as a brown man, Patrick, in a room full of mostly white, progressive, far left folks, I'm trying to speak truth to them that, hey, I don't believe in this kind of stuff. We need to focus on bringing our people together because we've got red states and blue states. And we, as language educators, our job is to use language to unite, not to divide.
Well, you speak of that, and I always tell people this story that happened to me at the State Department. One of my colleagues, pleasant, perfectly fine person, but I had used the phrase, the adage, "kill two birds with one stone." And so this lady with pink hair, she put her hand on my arm and said, "Patrick, it's not kill two birds with one stone. It's feed birds with one scone.
Mm,
And she was dead serious. And so why I raised that is that's what they were focusing on,
mm,
the crazy, the stuff that's so far out to the left of extremes. There's nothing wrong saying kill two birds with one
mm,
stone. A lot of people still eat those birds. You're
mm.
just killing them for fun. And anyway, we've gone so crazy in our language. You as a language teacher, I as a language teacher, I used to teach Polish, I used to teach English.
Mhm.
And so tell me about after the video went out, what has it done? Do you feel like you're energized now to get out there into different venues, to
Absolutely,
universities?
Patrick, without a
So
doubt.
what's
I've
your
reached out
target
to so
interview?
many, from my legislators in Oklahoma to my two senators, to parties from all across the country. You have no idea how many people from small, parties, independents, libertarians, moderate Democrats who were, afraid to speak up in their own party reached out to me, be like, thank you for your courage. Thank you for standing up, because during these polarizing times that I was the president of this organization, and it didn't hurt me. In fact, it ended up helping me and helping the Mormon business that they were trying to go after. So the Mormon business has now, recorded record business in sales. So,
Good for them. Good for them.
that cancel culture did end up hurting them. It ended up helping them and helping me. And now I'm at the United Nations Foundation in my role, in my very moderate role of trying to even reform some of what's going on at the United Nations. People rightfully call the UN a house of hypocrites. They haven't just been labeled that for no reason whatsoever. You and I, both being in diplomacy, know that institutions like the UN have lost their credibility because of putting actors and states on committees where they don't belong, like the Human
Uh,
Rights Council. Like,
where they
come
have agendas, right? So they can
right?
So you've seen a lot. You're going out, you're going to schools. One of the things that I'm trying to do as a retired diplomat is get out to different universities and encourage people to get in the fight. Don't just sit there from the sidelines. Anybody can criticize something from the sidelines.
Mm,
Actually getting involved, our younger students out there across the country, not just the ones at the Ivy League schools or the ones over on the West Coast that went to Stanford or UCLA or USC or wherever, but the ones in the middle of the country too, so that they serve their country as diplomats. So I'm on your side with that. We have a lot of plans with our Ben Franklin Fellowship. I don't know if you've heard about that. With a
yes.
bunch of conservatarians and conservatives that are out there just trying to show people that, look, it's okay now. We're out of the closet, thanks to President Trump, and
Yeah.
we're not going to back down anymore. We're going to say, you can have your way of life, but
Mm.
I can have my way of life too.
And
And
my voice
I'm
is
not going
not
to
going
be
to be
afraid,
canceled for having that
not
those
going to be
views.
canceled, and I'm not going to be afraid. And I'm going to say that my values are not intended to hurt you. They're
Yeah.
intended to actually do some good if you would listen. So that's where we are. I just love that you're going out there. You're a school teacher. Are you still teaching, or
I
has
do consult for school districts across the country. So I want to talk a little bit about the grassroots movement that we lead in my twin brother's memory, who passed away in 2018 to a plane crash. So, Patrick, I'm in Oklahoma. So when I first came to Oklahoma, I thought I was going to be seeing cowboys at the airport. But, again, look, Patrick, nothing wrong about having
you
stereotypes.
saw some
Everybody has
barbecue?
stereotypes.
You probably saw some
Stereotypes
barbecue.
come from somewhere, right? So I know we all have stereotypes, but the beauty of dialogue, the beauty of the fact that Patrick and Akash are engaging in this conversation right here on a call is that we can break down those stereotypes and we can see that, oh wow, okay, I learned a little bit about Oklahoma, you learned a little bit about some of their culture, some of their country, and that's what I try to inspire in classrooms all across the country since 2014. And thanks to that movement today, Patrick, we have a movement, or like a database of over 2,500 volunteers from 150 countries that at zero cost video call classrooms in all 50 states in the United States so that children in rural Alaska or children in inner city San Juan, Puerto Rico can talk to somebody in Ghana, can talk to somebody in South Africa, can talk to somebody in Germany, can talk to somebody in the Kiribati Islands. So kids who have never had an opportunity to travel or not had the same privilege that maybe Patrick, Victor, and Akash all share because we have the resources to travel. I'm trying to give these very same kids a window outside the four walls of their classroom so that they can look beyond those four walls and be like, someday I'm going to be in Brazil. Someday I'm going to be in Ghana. Someday I'm going to be in India. And this is what I'm going to do. So that's the beauty of the work we do. And we started in Oklahoma. We won widespread bipartisan support for our work because the Republicans see the work we do and they see that, wow, this is teaching young American children to be grateful for the many freedoms they enjoy in the United States, and it's inspiring empathy in our youth. Something we have lost. Many Americans take their freedoms for granted. And that's why I started today's show, talking about how we should be grateful. We have folks like Victor right here. He's faced far more oppression than I have ever before coming to the United States. I have faced nothing compared to what Victor has or what my wife, who's, of Cuban heritage, that has had to deal with to come to the United States. So that's what we try to inspire, Patrick. And it's so much fun that it was covered by the Time magazine during the COVID-19 pandemic. During the pandemic, we facilitated over 50,000 video calls in classrooms all across the United States in just 2 years. And this is a community of John Lennons, I call, because they're truly John Lennons of, individuals from 150 countries that just think that we're going to engage in a mystery hangout. So students are out there with their maps. They're asking questions to solve the mystery of where this person's from. So Victor participated in some of these calls. College students, K through 12 students, they have this opportunity for the first time to meet somebody from Russia and then realize, wow, Russia is not anywhere close to what the United States is.
No, this is amazing. I wanted to ask you another question as you've been recounting your successes. Why do you think it is that people that are more center right or more conservative really shun the word activism? And it's clearly that you're an activist for good things that you believe in, but why do you think so many conservatives and people they're kind of afraid of that word activist? Is it because of the crazy on the left? They don't
Yeah, I
want
think
to do that?
but we have great activists on the center right, center left, center. We have activists on the far right, far left too. And activism, in my way, I think it's just service. Service. What do I do to make this world a better place? What can I do? When I shared my story, so many Americans came up to me and they're like, wow, this is patriotic. This is an act of patriotism to stand up for a Mormon business that was being bullied. And I have nothing in common with the Mormon business. I
Right.
grew up Catholic. I'm not Mormon, but you know what I have in common? The humanity. I know that they're as human as I am, and they deserve to, I mean, they get the chance. The United States Constitution guarantees them the freedom to practice the
Well,
religion of their choice or no religion whatsoever. Just
and
as
talk
much
about
as
a
the
group of
LGBTQI
people.
community has the right to live their lifestyles.
Right, and talk about a group of people who suffered for that religious freedom. I mean, massacred and sent off to the West and died in the winters on the way to Utah. I mean, that's a group of people that have a history of the United States of oppression as well, and they
And to
were
add just briefly, Patrick, you mentioned activism. I think the reason why a lot on the right hate or loathe that word is because a lot of these nasty activists during the Biden administration went after people,
and
including parents. Parents who were speaking at school board meetings were put on domestic terrorist watch lists. Like, what kind of a country do we live in? I came to this country not to turn it into Russia or into Cuba. I came to this country because of the freedoms we enjoy.
that's right. And I think we need a word to get away from that, but we need this energy that you have. And I don't have it at your same level, but I definitely have it, and I get things done behind the scenes. Um, but I think we need to keep focusing like you did on that campus with our younger people, with the victors of the world, to show them they can do things. Don't call it activism then, but do things. Get out there and show people there's a different way to live, a different way to think, and it's okay. And I think that's what your message is, and it's powerful. It's for our students in primary and elementary and middle schools and high school kids, but it's also for college students, for all of us, to not take what we have for granted. And I'm working
Mhm.
on a book right now about the sin of ingratitude. And often with my kids, I have four kids of my own, and I'm always telling them, you can do a lot of things to me, and I'll kind of let it slide, and I won't react. But if you show ingratitude to others, uh, that's the start of a life of selfishness and an empty life. And so if you want to, I always tell people, even when I used to be a more active psychologist, people would ask me questions about, should I do this? Should I do this? And I said, did you show gratitude in your life? And I think that's what you're also doing is as an immigrant yourself and as producer Victor as an immigrant, showing that we have so much to be grateful in this country. What are your plans for coming up? I mean, you've got a lot to do. You've had this great. Are you gonna pile on to the success from May with Turning Point? Have you
Absolutely.
talked
I
to
mean,
them?
so
Have
many
you?
people in the conservative movement have reached out. They've said, Akash, you need to run for public office. And
You
I
do?
have every plan to run for public office.
God bless you. That is
Yeah, I
a
will be
big
running for
part.
something. I don't know what it is right now. I've run for all kinds of public office and, national organizations, been elected, all these roles that I've been in, they were elected roles where I was
Right.
elected in those capacities. And the organization that retaliated against me, they tried to do it behind closed doors without informing the members. I was like, good luck trying that, because that's how they deal with. But it backfired on them big time. It was a public relations nightmare for them. I got out the $400,000 making executive director because when you serve as the chairman of different boards, we do it because of our heart for service. We don't get compensated when you serve as chairmen and presidents of boards and national organizations of millions of dollars. So I didn't get into those organizations with the intent to make money. I went in there to help educators, struggling educators across the country. Education's riddled with so much bureaucracy today. I was in there to weed out the bureaucracy. But here we've got folks making hundreds of thousands of dollars with no experience in the classroom, trying to tell teachers how to teach, and they're not giving them resources to teach languages, but they're giving them resources to, indoctrinate our youth on the far left. So
Right.
backfired big time. Woke is dead, as they say, and it sure is dead right now.
Well, you still see some of the teachers, on TikTok. Have you ever seen the libs on TikTok
Oh,
or
absolutely. I
oh
follow
my gosh, where they just expose themselves? It's actually not edited. It's their stuff where they're showing how they're conniving and deceiving parents so that they can indoctrinate their children. It's just the bizarrest
I
thing.
love that.
I want to go.
Thanks to social media,
I
Patrick, at
know.
least we can expose these kinds of abuses. We can expose the radical and the craziness because majority of Americans don't buy the stuff. They don't buy the noise on the extremes. The majority of the Americans are looking to improve the lives for their children, for their families. They're trying to put food on their tables. They don't care about these woke issues.
So I think that people in the United States, citizens in particular, I'm not one to judge, how they live their life. And the beautiful thing about the United States is that until it affects someone, especially our children, right? Then I'm more cautious that I'm less cautious about saying something, especially if it affects our children. But if you're an adult, a consenting adult, and you want to live your life away, good for you. That's the beauty of America. However, you can't assume that everybody else thinks like you, and that's where we've gotten to. I want to segue to higher education. Now, I didn't get a chance to. Do you have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, or what do you?
I
How
do
was
have a
that?
master's, but I don't know why I got it.
Well, I have two PhDs, and I don't know why I have them either. But
I have a master's in higher education administration. And
I want to talk to you about your experience coming from another country in experiencing that liberal kind of ideology in higher
Mm,
education.
mm,
And what can we do about it? It's something I think about all the time because it seems very hard for me, frustrating for me. A lot of professors that I know, they're just liberal. They are,
mm.
and that comes out in their classes. And professors with tenure are very, you can't touch them. There's that joke, what's the difference between a professor with tenure and a terrorist? You can negotiate with a terrorist, right? You can't negotiate with a professor with tenure because they
Yep.
basically are not going to change. And they've dug themselves into so many of our institutions of higher learning.
Hmm.
And now our students probably come from great families. They go into that machine and they come out with these crazy ideas,
Hmm.
And so
And
how
debt. And debt.
and yet, so this is what I love about the Turning Point is Charlie Kirk sits there and says, I don't even know if the way the system works right now, if it's even worth your money.
If
So
it's worth the
what do you think
money.
about that? When you were
I
there on the
100% agree with him. And
you
I'll tell
agree
you
with it?
why I was not indoctrinated, Patrick, because I went to a small liberal arts university in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. And majority of my colleagues, guess what, Patrick? I
Was
was
it
the only
Christian
brown guy.
affiliated?
No,
Was
no,
it
no. It was a public institution, University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma in Chickasha, Oklahoma, in the middle of nowhere, just a few miles away from Rush Springs, Oklahoma, where they host the annual Watermelon Festival.
oh,
So
that's
I
great.
was surrounded with colleagues who were wives of farmers and ranchers, or they were farmers and ranchers themselves. Quite a shock for me, somebody who has
Yeah.
never, farmed, but I learned so much about country life. I learned so much about the American way of life. And I was the only brown guy to, by the way, graduate from my graduating class in education there. But that was the best time of my life, Patrick, because I had professors who were not radical, who were not far left or far right, but they taught what needed to be taught. Look at what's happening in our country. We trail in math proficiency. We trail in reading proficiency compared to every other developed country on earth. And we spend more money on education per pupil than any of these countries. And yet we trail because we are too busy focusing, like you said, on woke stuff and pronouns and other garbage than focusing on teaching our people to read and write in English.
And mutual respect, it's really hard to learn in group settings when you don't trust each other. And so, if you have critical race theory and these other ideologies out there, getting kids to not trust each other because of the color of their skins or how they look or where they came from or what language they speak, it's a problem. And you're
Mm,
not going to have them unify as Americans. You're going to have them continue this self-imposed segregation. And I always blows my mind when schools have segregated dorms and they think it's fine. So that's
yeah.
how far we've gotten. But I started with higher education. I, like you, do believe it can be saved.
It
And
is being saved. Look at the generation. Look at that Turning Point USA conference they just hosted in
I was watching it
Lima.
today. Was watching.
And I am just amazed at all the people that Charlie and folks like Riley Gaines can draw to their events, despite, even before President Trump, there were people that would go to these events despite knowing that they would face backlash simply because some colleague is going to see that and going to blow it up on Instagram or Twitter or, Facebook. They were scared to host their events, and look at how proudly they go to those events today. Thousands of people. I went to the one in Stillwater, Oklahoma. There were 4,000 people, and people constantly say the other side is nasty. They are racist. They are mean. Akash, you are a brown man. You're gonna get the hate from them. They were some of the nicest people I met. They
Yeah.
didn't even know if I was there for Charlie or against Charlie. They didn't care. They were some of the nicest people I met. So I'm just very hopeful, Patrick, at the same time, seeing these trends change because the young generation is not buying it. No matter what issue it is, they know they are not going to buy it from the professors. And the professors better start, turning around because if not, this administration's holding not just professors, but their universities, their grants, their funding once you stop that money flow to those universities, they're going to comply. Look at what some of these universities have already done. Look at Columbia. Look at Penn. All these universities are finally turning around.
Well, yeah, and I had Jason Bohm, who's the dean. He's a former two-star Marine general, and now he's the dean of the Helm School of Government at Liberty University. He's become a friend of mine, and he did my show, and we talked about making God great again and making America grateful again. And I really believe in my heart of hearts, and it's not just because I'm a Christian, but I believe that this belief, firm belief and faith in a higher being, that there's so much more than just this life, should be taught in schools.
Hmm.
And people can debate a bit, or they can say, well, I don't like this path, but what about this path? But just saying you can never talk about God, it is
Hmm.
destroying our country. It is creating faithless, nihilist people. And that's what they teach at these 40 to 60,000, if you're lucky, 80,000, 90,000 a year schools. They're teaching nihilism and hedonism. And that's going to destroy our country if we don't stop it. So kudos to you for getting out there. I hope to see you on more Turning Point events where you're answering questions about your journey. Um, I've had a journey too. I was kind of, from a Polish American family, which a lot of us uh, were Democrats.
Mm.
But people don't understand that, Kennedy Democrats were very conservative, and it's changed to such a different thing to where I was like, well, the last person I ever voted for that was Democrat was Bill Clinton. And I was at a very Christian university where I was one of the few Democrats on campus that voted for Bill Clinton.
Mm.
And I never did it again after that. I said that's not for me. I want a different path. And I hope that you get out there. I hope that we can get younger people interested in a different way of looking at things, but I'm very concerned about our higher education one. Well, I have a couple more minutes with you. Anything else you want to add, of course, but when you were teaching math and Spanish, tell us a little bit about that journey and how do you miss it? Do you want to go back? I know
Yeah.
you do consulting, but it's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing, Patrick, but from time to time I get chances to be visiting faculty and go teach and interact with students, K through 12 or even university students. I've taught college students. So, especially Spanish, because Patrick, I'm a polyglot. I speak six languages, and I'm of the firm belief that Americans should certainly, any person who comes to the United States should be able to speak, read, and write in English. But I think we should also be able to speak another language, like most people do in Europe, because it's good for our national security. You're a diplomat, I'm a diplomat. Look, even if you look at American history, look at the history of the Native American code talkers. They helped us. And we've got somebody who's in the military right here, Victor. The military, for the longest period of time that I know of, for the last 10, 15 years, they would publicize shortages of critical languages and they would hire foreign nationals under some sort of a MAVNI program to be recruited to be part of the United States military to help them fill those deficiencies. So I'm of the opinion, once we can get our math, science, and reading proficiency back, we need
Coding,
to be able
yeah,
to get
coding.
our students to be able to speak another language and a language of their choice. I saw a video during President Trump's first administration that his granddaughter, when president of China was visiting the United States, one of his granddaughters speaks Chinese or is learning Chinese. So I think it's just great for our national security, and at the same time, it's something that helps open doors to other humans. And to fulfill the mission of President Trump's peace through strength, if Americans only spoke another language, they're going to see others as friends and not as enemies. And I'm not, with some of those crazy warmongering, individuals we have in our government that want to constantly keep funding more and more and more and more of wars and division on our planet. We have way too many problems in our country. We much rather focus and channel money on our people and our issues and our ballooning national debt than spend money on continuously providing arms and weapons to other countries around the world or fighting wars with them.
Well, and here's the thing, as much as I'm a fan of AI and what it can do to help us and to help the world, I'm also afraid as a student and a teacher of psychology of the lack of human touch, the lack of human interaction that's real. People getting their fake lovers, their fake girlfriends, their fake boyfriends all online and thinking that they're real. It's really bad for mental health. And so
Mm.
something like learning a language, although Duolingo is great, learning with other human beings is the best way to learn, to have a reason to interact. So I hope you get out there and stress that. If it were up to me, I'd make everybody learn Polish, right? But
Yeah, especially through our virtual
but
programs
but
where
that's
children get to meet
torture.
other
That's
children their
actually
age
that's
and to
actually
get the
torture.
touch.
I want to just share with you one little thing you talked about the code talkers. Back when I did my master's degree in applied linguistics, I was on the Navajo reservation and I would go out
Mm.
with a Navajo speaker and I was the English speaker and we'd go out 30, 40 miles to the middle of nowhere on the reservation to these little hogans or little houses and we test these children in English or Navajo and a lot of them unfortunately didn't have enough input in the language in English or in Navajo. So we would be able to take them with the social services to a boarding school and get them the inputs in English and Navajo. Um, but no one was wondering, oh, are you a conservative? Or are you a Democrat? So I guess my last question for you is how do we get the stigma that when people are maybe they lean more conservative, that they're not monsters and they actually want to help our country and help other people?
No, I think it's just more of us need to come out and share our stories. I'm sure even as a brown man who was considered BIPOC, first immigrant president of these national organizations, how could you be conservative? How could you be, center right? Those people don't, they're not for you. Yes, they're for me. And these are the reasons why I believe in some of these issues. And I do not agree with some of your radical agenda. The more we are going to get more people, especially the BIPOC ones that they talk about, the black, brown, and indigenous people that come out and say, I don't agree with this. And there's too many people right now in the left that are flipping parties, that are going away from that. They're going and registering as independent because they do not recognize that party of today. So I think the more of us that come out and share our stories and show how we are compassionate humans, we're compassionate Americans that care, but at the same time, we're more vested in, saving our country before saving other countries or, going and bombing the world. We're more interested in making our country great again. And when they see that we are humans with families, with children, with same aspirations as them, they're going to see that, yes, we care as much. We're not demons. We're not monsters like the media likes to portray us. And I thought I was going to get backlash from that event going to Charlie Kirk, but no. I got no backlash. Even in the liberal circles, I've had people come out to me and say, yeah, I think these are some of the reasons why the Democratic Party lost in the first place.
Yeah, just taking things to the extremes, it's dangerous. Well, listen, this has been a great pleasure talking to Akash Patel tonight. Not Cash Patel, but Akash Patel, who's been absolutely wonderful. I encourage all of our listeners, we'll link, producer Victor will link the YouTube clip there to this episode so people can get a chance. Because I thought what you did there on the spot was brilliant, by the way, and not everyone can do that. But keep in touch. Let's have you back on the show, and we want to hear about all of the stuff you're doing to change the world and make it a better place. Akash Patel, everyone, and thank you for coming on. And we'll turn it over to your friend and buddy, producer Victor, to close out the show for us.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for this incredible conversation. Really enjoyed here behind the scenes. And Akash, really, thanks for all you do. Really looking forward to staying in touch and hearing more about your journey up into the offices and leadership positions. We need people like you. Any final words? Yes, Dr. Selinsky.
Yes, when you run for office, you can come on the show anytime.
Absolutely.
You look, I know President Trump said tongue in cheek when someone asked him about a month ago, um, whether people should run for office. And he said, if they're going to, basically, he said, if they're going to treat you like me, don't do it.
Don't do it, exactly. I've
But
already gone through hell in one national organization, but I've seen that, if you just persist and keep pushing, even if you're the only conservative voice in a room of 14 people, you can still flip the whole thing and, you can still win. I was the only
well,
person. They were at a point they wanted me to resign, they wanted me to leave, and I said, no, I'm not going. I'm not moving from here.
In a world full of noise, clarity is power. Stay informed, stay aware, stay top of mind.